This is In-Camp Field Notes, quick conversations and the cliff notes, thoughts, and lessons that don't always make it to the big stories, but shape the way we hunt and see the outdoors. This is In-Camp Podcast.
Welcome back. This will be the second installment of the Whitetail Brief, and I have a lifetime friend of mine, my good buddy, Ben Koch. What's up, buddy?
Nothing much, Aaron. Thanks for having me on again. I just want to say every time I'm honored to be on here, and I think it's really cool what you're doing with the podcast, man. So I
Thanks,
just appreciate
buddy.
it. I really do appreciate it.
I have the most fun. I always have fun talking to new people and like all this stuff. But whenever I get to like you're wrestling around on my parents' bedroom floor in footy pajamas, when we were kids.
Sure,
you know what I mean?
watching Star Wars, yeah.
And now your boys are coming up and fishing at their house. It's fun, man.
I know.
It's
now
kind of
they're in underwear and running around, and yeah, it's great. Dude.
It's
shirtless.
It's full circle. It's really cool. But I've really seen so I've seen you grow so much as a bow hunter, and I know we talked about this in our last podcast, and I think I got a lot of feedback on your last Whitetail Brief episode that you did.
Sick.
A lot of people really enjoyed hearing kind of like the new perspective and how excited you are to hunt big bucks and just hunt deer in general. So it's fun, man. And we can see on the wall behind you, if you're watching the video, there's a slammer on the back of Ben's wall back there. He made it happen.
Oh my gosh, so excited. I love shooting does just as much as bucks. I just love seeing deer. It's great.
I think we're gonna end up doing some full episodes with Ben this year. We're gonna do kind of a longer episode early in the season to kind of follow up with this one. See how his season's going and that kind of thing. Maybe we'll make that one a brief, but we're definitely going to have a rut conversation with Ben because that buck back behind you took you all season, right?
Yeah, it took me to the wire, man. It was the last day, and it was a wild story, but
yeah,
couldn't be happier with the end result. Obviously, it was a blast.
Yeah,
good season.
It's so cool. Like I don't know. It's just it's cool to see you grow and do this kind of thing, but. What we're here talking about is it's July. This is coming out July 16th. We're talking about summertime work, and you're already sending me velvet pics, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So, Ben, what are you doing that you think maybe you did something last year that I need to improve on this. I need to do this thing the same. But tell me one thing that you think that you need to improve on now in the summertime that you think will help give you that better early season this year?
Sure. I think the number one thing for me, Aaron, that I'm going to do this year versus last year that I noticed all hunting last year was tree stand placement.
Uh-huh.
I had a stand that I thought was like going to be top notch, and I seen like every deer came from behind me. I mean, every single one. And it was like on the edge of a CRP field. And I just feel like there was no deer coming in front of me. So I was either getting busted or after taking like really weird, like off angle shots or getting around like a tree and branch. So all I have to do is, I think, move this tree stand like 4 foot to another tree. And I'm going to have a way easier time. I'm going to have a better vantage of the whole field and stuff. And that was one thing I noticed, like, man, if I could, picking the right tree matters way more than I thought. I think like last year, Ben, or even when I was first putting up tree stands, I was like, dude, I don't care what trees, just get me in the air and I'll kill them. That's not really true. I mean, it is. You can kill deer at any tree, but there's definitely, like, if you can tell where deer are coming from, they're not going to sneak up on you. You're going to know them a lot farther away. And let me tell you something, that really helps when you see the deer first, immensely.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Well, it's shifting from a bow hunter's from a gun hunter's mentality to a bow hunter's mentality, because
you're exactly right.
You could essentially sit in any tree you wanted with a rifle. Sometimes, not all the time. And sometimes you need better vantage points with a gun, and guns have their own challenges there, but they're way different. And picking a tree or lack thereof has hurt me a lot of times in the woods too. Yeah. So I think that's valid. I still think let's hear, we're gonna do a quick spoof. Let's hear from the audience and see what the census is. But I bet you, or the consensus is, but I bet you 90% of the listeners tell Ben that he should go to a saddle. Okay, now.
Oh man. Yeah.
Well, you got to come up and shoot out a saddle, dude.
I've been I treat ladder stands because I had Bryce around, so we treated ladder stands like mobile hunting. We would just grip it and rip it and
Yeah,
just
well,
stick. Yeah.
that's
So it's nice
valid.
having,
Yeah.
but now that Bryce is gone and stuff this summer, I got the Novix hang on. I think it's not the Echo, the Halo.
Oh, cool.
So I'm giving that a go at another spot I have, and I've been practicing with that. But the saddle, oof, I feel like I'm just gonna fall
You
on
know,
my
I
death.
mean, no, actually it removed my fear of heights because
Oh
I
yeah,
have that connection to the tree all the time. But you know, saddles aren't for everybody. But the mobility part is the important part.
huge.
And you know, you're working with a bunch of tree stands on a piece of property that you know pretty well. If you see what I think that you did well last year was you did kind of adapt to whatever, like, okay, like the deer are over here and I'm here and I should be 10 yards this way and do a lot better.
Yeah.
So what's something about the tree stand placement, since we're talking on that, that you think you could improve on in the summertime before the season starts?
Well, it's like, dude, I'm gonna sound ridiculous, but like, I didn't really understand funnels, like little patch of woods coming to a thing, and like I would just see deer in the field, right? Because it's easy to see them in the field because there's no trees, and like you drive around in your truck and you look at them, but like once they get in the woods, I was like, yeah, they're just gone. I don't know, like, but deer go to like little choke points and stuff, and I've kind of like just listening to your podcast and talking with hunters like yourself, deer like they have to go certain ways sometimes, and if you can use that terrain or that like little bit of patch of woods to your advantage and a buck comes in there, there's not a whole lot of options for them if they're going to come down that trail through that field. So last year I saw a lot of, I would say a lot more buck because I was hunting more of the choke points or the funnels, I guess you would say,
Yeah.
rather than just like getting a tree with the biggest, eyeballs on the field and being like, oh, I'm just going to watch these 8 deer walk around at 80 yards. That doesn't really help you as a bow hunter. So just being able to like, you can't get deer to funnel, but like put a stand where they might funnel
Yeah.
definitely helped me see more bucks last year, 100%.
Yeah. So what about, you're hunting about a 50-acre piece, right?
It's correct.
So this is a 50-acre private piece. There's a lot, like it's a jungle. It's very thick in a lot of areas down in that part of the state. You know, the deer have plenty of cover. They got a lot of food where you're at. So one thing that I've always really admired about something that you do in hunt, you get really great pictures. And some of them are field edges and food sources or scrapes. What do you think you're going to do differently with your camera strategy this summer that maybe you haven't employed before? Are you going to try to put them on some choke points, maybe put some cell cams on some of those pinches and kind of see, is it like a frequency thing, or did I happen to just be there that day that deer decided this was a choke point, or is this like a
Mhm.
consistent one that deer are using often?
I have one camera that I put for the first time in a spot, and that's where I would say 80% of my great pictures came from. And it was brand new, and I'll probably just go back to that well, right?
Yeah.
Great pictures, and deer seem to be hitting a hard bucks. Those. I think the one thing I'll do differently is like I only have three of them, but I've
Uh-huh.
kind of put them in the same spot like the last 3 years. And that buck I shot last year came from a spot that I had no vision on. Like
Uh-huh.
I just assumed that they weren't coming over this spot, and I was just telling a buddy, I think I'm going to put one back just in a new spot and see what happens. And just like that's what I did last season, and I just got lucky. Most of my hunting is getting lucky, but I'm just going to try to put it in a new spot, see what cameras come up, and then when I go to like move the camera or whatever, I mean, I look for sign, deer dropping stuff, but like, it was really cool this year. Actually, my oldest son Jackson found a complete Euro mount shed thing, like randomly looking for a deer, and he's
Like a
like, "Dad," I was
deadhead.
like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, deadhead, that's it." I don't, I don't know the terms, but yeah, he came out and he's like, "Dude," I was like, "Yo," so I was like, maybe we should put a camera around there. I mean, that deer was probably dead, 3 or 4 years, but
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna just put a camera. I hate to say the word random, but definitely in a spot where I've never put one before, and then probably keep two of them where I know I'm just going to get good pictures to see if bucks from last year have made it, or if new bucks are pushing over. And then I usually put one just like I said, new spot, and see if I can ambush them at a better vantage point.
I like that. And the thing about cameras is like if you have a deer show up on the camera maybe once or twice, it's not really a pattern, but if you're seeing some kind of movement on it every day, it doesn't necessarily matter if it's like a spike buck and a couple of does. That means that deer are using that. And if they're doing it all the time, every day, multiple times a day, it means that's a high percentage pinch, right?
Yeah.
So you can be like, you could even like, if you get that before season rolls around, you can pull that camera out of there and put it somewhere else. Like, yep, that's what I need to know. But sometimes
that's a good point.
It's just as good to put a camera where you don't like, where you think this probably is crap, but I'm going to put a camera here and make sure I'm right.
Yeah.
So you're just validating, right? And you've been really good about validating what's on the camera, but that's how you use a camera as a tool.
Mm.
Of course, like you have a property that you've gotten to learn, you get to hunt. So it makes sense that you want to hunt like a specific buck. So, like public land hunters, maybe, that's not their thing, but this is really cool for guys that are on private land because they have that opportunity. So inventory,
Right.
like you're saying on private it's pretty valuable, especially if you know a buck's, if it's telling you that a certain buck is living on your property, it tells you how much pressure you can put on that buck. And
Sure.
that's something that you and I have talked about a lot. So what did you learn about pressure this year? Because you were, at first it was like, you're going pretty often and then you're like, well, you know what? Maybe I need to like back off or try this area of the property so I'm not putting this on the property. Dead on Display Euro mounting system, by far the best Euro mounting hanger on the market. I have all my mounts on them, including an elk skull, and it holds that thing to the wall solid. I do also like the angle bracket for the whitetails. It gives them a real nice look, and it helps preserve one of your memories for a lifetime. So check them out, deadondisplay.com. You can find them on Instagram as well. Like, tell me what you learned about pressure.
It is interesting. And I just want to go back to the one thing we were talking about cameras. Like, I noticed this year big time. Like, just because you don't see deer on camera doesn't mean there aren't deer.
Yeah.
And I say that like this, like there was a maybe a 5-6 day stretch where I saw like 1 or 2 deer, and I'd be out in the stand and I would see a ton of deer, just not crossing my camera. So like sometimes for me, like guys like, oh, no deer on my camera, I'm not gonna hunt.
Yeah,
they're out there, man.
Yeah. Well, pause. This is an awesome thing because I just I'm dropping a podcast this Tuesday with Cam Durr, and he says exactly that same thing. So this is affirming that too.
Yeah, and like the buck I shot, I didn't have on camera. I think the last time I saw him was the first week of October. So in your brain, you're like, he's gone. Someone shot him. He moved off, and then voila, in your lap. But as far as like pressure, it was very interesting, Aaron. I was in North Carolina for the first week of the rut, hunting something else, and I just had like buck after buck after buck on camera, and I'm just like, what is
this? Is when like, you were bear hunting?
Correct. So I was in North Carolina bear hunting, and I'm looking at my cameras, and like, I was like disheartened a little bit. I was like, I would have killed like one of these for sure. I'd been in the woods. So I don't know. The one correlation I found between last year and 2 years ago was that it seemed like that CRP grass was a little bit higher. Like in years prior, for some reason, it was like, let's say it was knee high, and this year it was like more of like chest high on a dude. And I don't know if the deer just felt more covered and they were moving around that edge better. I don't know what it was, or it could have been the lack of pressure, me actually taking a couple of days off, because I'm the type of guy like more is more. If I'm not in the woods, I can't kill deer. And it's kind of a bad mindset. But me being in North Carolina, I think put me out of that space. There was no human scent interaction, whatever you want to call it, into those woods. And when I got back, I was seeing a ton of buck movement like I was that previous week. Didn't connect, but it did seem like there was definitely, and I hunted a little bit softer going into the rut, and I felt like the buck movement was definitely up higher than the previous year. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I think you did a really good job with the pressure this year, and I think every year you add on a little bit more, like you're growing into a great bow hunter. So, and it's really cool to see. Like I said, I don't even know, like, I can't wait till we're going to have you on in the fall so we can like just swap stories and catch up in the deer season, because you're one of my favorite people to talk to during deer season. So, but last year was kind of a real special year for me and Ben, because Ben was texting me the whole time. He's like hunting this buck and just like, and
it was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it truly was.
The last text I get from Ben is, everything you're saying is happening. Say a big one's coming. And it's like,
that's right, dude.
Yeah.
That was insane.
Yeah.
It was so bizarre. Like if you said doe were coming, small buck, small buck.
So there's a post that I'll share about this. So if you're hearing it, you need to go and check out the Instagram and see the voicemail I got from Ben as soon as he connected. And we're gonna have a podcast about it this fall. We're gonna do a rut podcast together or something in the deer season. But I think the one thing to take home about the summer too is like you said, I think the big summary for summertime is seeing what food's available now, getting the inventory, making sure that your setup is almost foolproof. So what you've learned about your setup this year is like, yeah, I need to pick the tree to give me the better shot. You also have to have the wind advantage, and that's something else that you're learning.
I was just gonna say that, dude. Because I remember you had explained to me, like, again, I don't care if people think I'm stupid, but I remember you had to like tell me when the air was pointed, like that's the way the wind's coming from, right? But here's what I'll say: as much as I didn't understand about the wind at the beginning of the season, I studied it so much that when I was in my stand, if I was like at work or something, or in my house, and I saw the wind on my app, and I could put myself in a stand and know which way the wind would have been blowing on any 4 or 5 of those stands, right? And that was a massive jump for me from a guy who was like, dude, I don't care which way is the wind blow. I just want to be in the stand, to like, oh no, Southwest, like I'm going to get discovered if they're behind me. And I get more deer behind me out of this stand versus that stand. And this season for sure, I understood the wind. I hunted the wind. I remember texting you. I was like, hey, do you think I should push out to this, like my moat? And you're like, wait, don't go out to that far stand yet. So I held in. I don't know. It definitely made a big leap this year. So that's why when it took to the last day to connect, I was like, I was a little like emotional roller coaster, right? Just like, every deer season.
It was pretty amazing. And you had a pretty awesome year of, really good stories. And I don't think that you would really trade the experience you got to have of killing a bruiser like you did. But you really had a cool fall and you had a lot of good experience. What can you tell the guests about making the most of the experience, whether it's you're in North Dakota hunting pheasants or in your North Carolina hunting bears, when you could be hunting bucks in your backyard, but you got to have all those experiences?
Yeah, what I'll say briefly, man, is I went with a group of guys out to North Dakota, a lot of lifelong friends, some new friends, and just to be in another state and see the I don't know, the nature, the terrain, how they live, how they talk, just to be far away with your buddies. And then, I mean, North Carolina was a blast, dude. I mean, that was those guys. Those guys were just good old boy rednecks who were just like, hey, we hunt all the time. We're gonna let you hunt in our stands for a week. I was like, this is electric, dude. North Carolina was a blast, and to see a bear that close, like, dude, I don't really like bears. I was scared to death, dude. I was like, oh my gosh, dude, I was so scared. But I think all in all, I mean, I tell Jen all the time, I'm like, I couldn't have asked for a better 2025. Like the stuff I got to experience, just the traveling to North Dakota was just as much as some of the hunting, right? Just being locked in a van for 25 hours and living out of an RV for a week. And then, I was super blessed and super fortunate to come home from North Carolina and 2 weeks later shoot a buck. So I don't think I'll top it. That's why I got to ride this high now, because it's only downhill from here, dude. It's not going to get any higher.
Man. I don't think so. Usually it only gets a little bit better every time you learn something new, dude. So what can you tell here's what I like about having new people. You're not new to hunting, but people that are new archers or aspiring, and they're learning a lot of new things. I've forgotten as much stuff as I've learned about whitetails, probably. And it's always really good for me to be like, dude, I completely forgot that I should be doing this, and that's going to help give me a leg up. So that's one thing. That's one reason why I like to have you on, is because it's like, man, it reminds me of the small things that I can't forget about. But since we're talking about, not to miss your experience part, I love that you got to have such a cool experience and get to realize that you can take like a little bit of a break, and sometimes it's even better when you come back, because you had all those that buck movement afterwards. But what is with a parting note, what is the top thing that you learned about hunting a mature buck this past fall that will make you better this fall?
That's a great question. I have a very simple answer, and actually, you told it to me. You were saying that if your wind is good and you're elevated in an elevated stand and your wind is perfect, you're like invisible to deer.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was hunting this buck in particular and a couple other bucks, my wind was absolutely perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And I was 15 to 20 in the tree, and I truly was invisible. Like I got not a lot of movement, didn't have to make a lot of movement, but I had to reach back pretty good distance for my bow and Aaron. It was like I was literally invisible. And I have been around enough deer to say this, that it's not always like that.
Yeah.
So the biggest takeaway for me was hunt your wind correctly, and you can get big deer pretty close to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Dude, thanks so much for coming on. Where can people find you?
Thanks for having me, dude.
Yeah. Where can people find you?
Yeah, you can. I'm on Instagram mainly. That's my main social media. Ben_Koch9. And yeah, I'll just throw up all my hunting photos and life and riding dirt bikes in my underwear. So you like that stuff.
And you can find him on the In Camp podcast, people. So thanks for tuning in. Dude, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Aaron, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, dude.
Yeah, buddy.